Welcome to Brainwaves. In this video, we'll be diving deep into the fascinating history of jazz. Jazz is a genre of music that has captivated audiences around the world for over a century. It emerged in the late 19th century in African American communities, influenced by various musical traditions and cultural influences. From its humble origins, jazz has evolved and branched out into numerous subgenres, making it a rich and vibrant art form. Our journey will take us through the key milestones and influential figures in the development of jazz. We'll explore the early roots of ragtime and blues in the early 20th century, their impact on the formation of jazz, and the cultural and social contexts that shaped its growth. Next, we'll transport ourselves to the vibrant city of New Orleans, where jazz took its first breath and quickly spread to other cities across America. We'll delve into the musical innovations and stylistic traits that characterize this formative period of jazz, as well as the clubs and venues where talented musicians gathered to jam and collaborate. Then, we'll fast forward to the swing era of the 1930s and 1940s, a time when jazz reached new heights of popularity with its big band sound. We'll explore the prominent musicians and band leaders of this era, and the societal influences that fueled the rise of swing music. Finally, we'll arrive at the revolutionary period of bebop in the 1940s, where musicians like Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie pushed the boundaries of jazz through their virtuosic improvisation and complex harmonic structures. We'll examine the cultural and musical significance of bebop, and how it opened doors to new possibilities and experimental approaches within the world of jazz. Join us on this captivating journey through time, as we uncover the stories, sounds, and impact of jazz on the world of music. Let's explore the history of jazz together. Influences from African music traditions. The origins of jazz can be traced back to the late 19th century in African American communities, where a rich tapestry of musical traditions and cultural experiences played a significant role in shaping the genre. The influence of African music traditions on jazz is undeniable, with rhythmic patterns, improvisation, and call and response structures being key elements. African music brought with it a deep-rooted sense of spirituality and community, which found expression in the syncopated rhythms and polyrhythmic layers that became integral to jazz. The use of complex rhythmic patterns, polyphonic textures, and intricate drumming techniques from West African music traditions infused jazz with a distinctive pulse and energy. Moreover, the practice of improvisation, a hallmark of jazz, can be traced back to African music traditions. In African culture, music was often created spontaneously, with performers relying on their individual creativity and musical intuition. This emphasis on improvisation translated seamlessly into the jazz tradition, allowing musicians to express their unique voices through spontaneous melodic and rhythmic inventions. To visualize the rich infusion of African music traditions in the origins of jazz, search for images of traditional African instruments like the djembe, balafon, and kora. These instruments played a significant role in shaping the rhythmic and melodic elements of jazz. Let's continue our exploration of the history of jazz by uncovering the impact of European musical styles in our next segment. The impact of European musical styles. As jazz began to take shape in African American communities, it also absorbed elements from European musical styles that were prevalent during that time. The influence of European music, particularly classical music and marches, brought structure, harmony, and compositional techniques to the evolving genre. European classical music introduced the concept of formal structures such as sonata form, symphonic arrangements, and complex harmonic progressions. Jazz musicians began incorporating these elements into their compositions, leading to the development of more sophisticated arrangements and harmonic complexities. Additionally, European marches and military band music inspired the use of brass instruments like trumpets, saxophones, and trombones in jazz. These instruments not only added power and depth to the sound of jazz but also facilitated the creation of vibrant and energetic melodies that became a defining characteristic of the genre. To visually depict the impact of European musical styles on the origins of jazz, search for images of classical composers like Ludwig van Beethoven, symphony orchestras, and military bands. These images will help illustrate the fusion of European influences with the African roots of jazz. Next, let's explore the role of African American cultural experiences in shaping the early development of jazz. The role of African American cultural experiences. The development of jazz in African American communities was deeply influenced by the cultural experiences and social conditions of the time. Jazz emerged as a form of artistic expression and a means of reclaiming cultural identity in the face of racial segregation and discrimination. African American cultural experiences, such as storytelling, dance, and spirituality, played a vital role in shaping the themes and emotions conveyed through jazz music. The blues, for example, drew inspiration from the African American experience of pain, struggle, and resilience, providing a platform for expressing deeply felt emotions and personal narratives. Furthermore, African American musical traditions, such as work songs, field hollers, and gospel music, infused jazz with a sense of communal spirit and a powerful connection to history. The call and response tradition, rooted in African customs, found its way into jazz performances, creating an interactive and dynamic musical dialogue between musicians and audiences. To visualize the role of African American cultural experiences in the origins of jazz, search for images of African American musicians, gospel choirs, and vibrant dance performances. These images will allow viewers to connect with the rich cultural heritage that contributed to the birth of jazz. Now, armed with a deeper understanding of the origins of jazz, let's delve further into the development of this remarkable genre. The emergence of ragtime and its influential figures. In the early 20th century, a new musical style called ragtime began to take the world by storm. Ragtime was characterized by its syncopated, or ragged, rhythm, which gave it a lively and energetic feel. This genre emerged primarily from African American communities, blending influences from African music, European classical music, and popular dance forms. One of the key figures in the development of ragtime was Scott Joplin, often referred to as the King of Ragtime. His compositions, such as Maple Leaf Rag and The Entertainer, not only showcased his remarkable piano skills but also popularized the syncopated rhythms and intricate melodies that defined ragtime. Joplin's contributions had a lasting impact on the development of jazz, serving as a foundation for future improvisational and rhythmic innovations. To provide a visual representation of the emergence of ragtime and its influential figures, search for images of Scott Joplin, sheet music of ragtime compositions, and vintage pianos. These visuals will help highlight the era and the prominent musicians who played a crucial role in shaping the evolution of ragtime. Stay tuned as we explore the roots of blues in the next section. The roots of blues and its connection to African American communities. The blues is a genre deeply rooted in the African American experience, with its origins tracing back to the early 20th century. Born out of the hardships, struggles, and emotions faced by African Americans, the blues served as a means of self-expression and a reflection of their cultural identity. The musical elements of blues can be traced back to traditional African songs, work songs, and spirituals. The use of call and response, melodic phrases, and expressive vocal styles were essential components that found their way into the blues. African American communities across the Deep South embraced the blues as a way to transcend their daily challenges, providing a cathartic outlet for their pain, joy, and hope. The lyrics of blues often conveyed personal narratives, heartache, and longing, reflecting themes of love, loss, and the realities of life at the time. As the genre evolved, blues musicians began incorporating instruments such as the guitar, harmonica, and piano to accompany their soulful vocals, adding a new dimension to the music. To visually portray the roots of blues and its connection to African American communities, search for images of blues musicians like Robert Johnson, Muddy Waters, and Bessie Smith, as well as images depicting the rural and urban landscapes where the blues thrived. These visuals will help depict the power and emotion encapsulated within this influential musical genre. Next, we'll explore the impact of ragtime and blues on the development of jazz. The impact of ragtime and blues on the development of jazz. Both ragtime and blues played a pivotal role in shaping the evolution of jazz. The rhythmic complexities and syncopation of ragtime, combined with the emotional depth and expressive nature of blues, provided a fertile ground for the birth of this innovative genre. Ragtime's influence on jazz can be seen through its emphasis on improvisation, syncopated rhythms, and intricate melodies. Musicians began to incorporate these elements into their performances, exploring new ways of expressing themselves and interacting with fellow musicians. The syncopated rhythms of ragtime became an essential component of jazz, setting the stage for the incredible rhythmic variations and dynamics that define the genre. Blues, on the other hand, contributed to jazz through its focus on personal expression, storytelling, and inventive vocal techniques. Musicians began incorporating blues scales and melodic phrasing into their jazz improvisations, adding a distinct emotional quality to the music. The integration of the soulful vocals, expressive instrumental solos, and rhythmic interplay became defining characteristics of jazz. To visualize the impact of ragtime and blues on the development of jazz, search for images such as jazz ensembles, jazz musicians playing their instruments, and images symbolizing the fusion of ragtime, blues, and jazz. These visuals will serve as a reminder of the significant contributions made by these genres to the growth and transformation of jazz. As we continue our journey, we'll explore the swing era and the rise of big band music. Stay tuned. The birth of jazz in New Orleans. New Orleans, a city renowned for its vibrant cultural blend, played a crucial role in the birth of jazz. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the diverse communities of New Orleans, including African Americans, European immigrants, and Creole musicians, came together, contributing their musical traditions and cultural influences to create this groundbreaking genre. The unique environment of New Orleans allowed for a rich musical exchange, where musical styles such as ragtime, blues, spirituals, marching band music, and Afro-Caribbean rhythms converged. The city's lively and multicultural neighborhoods provided a fertile ground for experimentation and collaboration, nurturing the early development of jazz. Notable venues such as Congo Square, where African slaves gathered to celebrate their cultural heritage, and Storyville, the red light district where musicians from various backgrounds performed, became hotspots for musical innovation. Musicians like Buddy Bolden, known as the first jazz musician, began blending the musical elements they encountered in New Orleans, laying the groundwork for the birth of jazz. To visually capture the birth of jazz in New Orleans, search for images of Congo Square, famous jazz clubs in New Orleans like Preservation Hall, and early jazz musicians like Buddy Bolden. These images will help paint a vivid picture of the cultural melting pot that gave birth to jazz and the vibrant music scene in New Orleans. Stay tuned as we explore the early jazz pioneers and their incredible contributions. Early jazz pioneers and their contributions. The early pioneers of jazz were instrumental in shaping and defining the genre during its formative years in New Orleans. These musicians not only brought their individual talents but also infused their own unique musical influences, pushing the boundaries of what jazz could become. One of the key figures in early jazz was Louis Armstrong, whose virtuosic trumpet playing, improvisational skills, and charismatic stage presence revolutionized the genre. Armstrong's innovative solos and scat singing techniques showcased the potential for individual expression within jazz, influencing generations of musicians to come. Another influential pioneer was Jelly Roll Morton, an accomplished pianist and composer. Morton's compositions, such as Jelly Roll Blues and King Porter Stomp, embodied the spirit of early New Orleans jazz, combining ragtime, blues, and improvisation. Morton's arrangements and recordings played a crucial role in popularizing jazz and spreading its influence beyond New Orleans. To visually represent the early jazz pioneers and their contributions, search for images of Louis Armstrong, Jelly Roll Morton, and early jazz bands like the original Dixieland Jazz Band. Additionally, look for album covers and historic jazz recordings from that era. These visuals will help viewers connect with the influential individuals and the sounds that laid the foundation for jazz as we know it today. Next, let's explore how jazz spread from New Orleans to other cities across the United States. The spread of jazz to other cities. After its birth in New Orleans, jazz quickly gained popularity and began to spread its infectious rhythms and melodies to other cities across the United States. The migratory movements of African Americans, the influence of traveling bands, and the recording industry all played a significant role in the dissemination of jazz beyond its birthplace. As African Americans migrated from the South to urban centers like Chicago, New York, and Kansas City, they brought with them the sounds and spirit of jazz. These cities became new hubs for jazz innovation and creativity, as musicians in each location added their own distinct flavors to the genre. The influence of traveling bands, such as the original Dixieland Jazz Band, helped introduce jazz to audiences outside of New Orleans. They toured across the country, playing in theaters, dance halls, and even in the nascent recording studios, spreading the exuberance of jazz to ever-increasing audiences. The emergence of the recording industry was a pivotal factor in the widespread popularity of jazz. Recordings by jazz musicians, including Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, and Bessie Smith, allowed the music to reach far beyond live performances. These records found their way into homes and radio stations, exposing people from all walks of life to the captivating sounds of jazz. To visualize the spread of jazz to other cities, search for images of famous jazz clubs and theaters in cities like Chicago, New York, and Kansas City. Look for photographs of jazz musicians on tour, vintage jazz record covers, and advertisements for jazz performances from that era. These visuals will help convey the excitement and impact of jazz as it radiated from New Orleans to the rest of the country. Stay tuned as we explore the golden age of jazz and its transformative influence. The rise of the swing era and its cultural impact. The 1930s and 1940s marked the golden age of swing, an era that brought about a remarkable shift in the music and cultural landscape. Swing music emerged as a popular genre, characterized by its infectious rhythms, catchy melodies, and energetic dance beats. The swing era had a profound impact on American society, influencing fashion trends, dance styles, and even the way people socialized. Swing music offered an escape from the hardships of the Great Depression and served as a source of joy and celebration during a challenging time in history. The rhythmic drive and exuberance of swing attracted a wide audience, attracting both young and old, black and white, to its captivating sounds. The popularity of swing music led to the emergence of big bands, large ensembles featuring brass, woodwind, and rhythm sections. These bands, consisting of skilled instrumentalists and charismatic vocalists, brought the swing sound to life in ballrooms, clubs, and theaters across the country. The ensemble nature of big bands allowed for intricate arrangements, dynamic solos, and impressive harmonies, creating a rich and vibrant sound that became synonymous with the era. To visually represent the rise of the swing era and its cultural impact, search for images of swing dancers, popular swing-era venues like the Savoy Ballroom, and iconic swing musicians like Benny Goodman and Count Basie. Look for photographs capturing the energy and enthusiasm of the dancers, big bands in action, and vintage swing album covers. These visuals will transport viewers back to the lively and transformative era of swing. Stay tuned as we explore the role of big bands and their contribution to the swing era. Big bands and their role in shaping the sound of the era. Big bands played a pivotal role in shaping the sound and defining the swing era. These large ensembles, consisting of talented instrumentalists and charismatic vocalists, brought the dynamic and vibrant sound of swing to life. Their arrangements, improvisations, and tight-knit performances captivated audiences and propelled swing music to new heights. Big bands typically comprised sections of brass instruments including trumpets, trombones, and saxophones, along with a rhythm section consisting of a piano, bass, guitar, and drums. Each section had its unique role in creating the rich harmonies, driving rhythms, and expressive solos that characterized the big band sound. The arrangements, often crafted by talented bandleaders and arrangers like Duke Ellington, Count Basie, and Benny Goodman, showcased the intricate blending of brass, woodwinds, and rhythm sections. These arrangements allowed for moments of collective playing, soaring solos, and carefully crafted harmonies, highlighting the individual talents within the band while creating a cohesive and powerful sound. To visually represent big bands and their role in shaping the sound of the era, search for images of prominent big bands such as the Count Basie Orchestra, the Duke Ellington Orchestra, and the Benny Goodman Orchestra. Look for photographs capturing the energetic performances, the formation of the bands with their instruments, and vintage album covers featuring big band leaders. These visuals will help convey the grandeur and excitement of the big band era and their significant contribution to the swing sound. Next, we'll explore some of the key figures and iconic recordings of the swing era. Key figures and iconic recordings of the swing era. The swing era boasted an array of influential figures who left an indelible mark on the genre and produced iconic recordings that continue to captivate audiences to this day. Let's explore some key individuals and their contributions. 1. Duke Ellington. Duke Ellington, renowned for his sophisticated compositions and distinctive piano playing, was one of the most significant figures of the swing era. His orchestra showcased a unique blend of jazz, blues, and classical music, creating a sophisticated and timeless sound. Iconic recordings by Duke Ellington include Take the A-Train and Mood Indigo. 2. Benny Goodman. Known as the King of Swing, Benny Goodman popularized the swing genre to a wider audience through his energetic performances and groundbreaking integration of both black and white musicians in his band. His band's recordings of Sing, 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 and Moonglow became emblematic of the era. 3. Count Basie. Count Basie's band epitomized the Kansas City swing style, characterized by its bluesy and rhythmic drive. Basie's minimalist approach combined with impeccable timing created a unique sound that emphasized the power of collaboration within the ensemble. Iconic recordings by Count Basie include 1 O'Clock Jump and April in Paris. To visually represent the key figures and iconic recordings of the swing era, search for images of Duke Ellington, Benny Goodman, Count Basie, and their respective orchestras. Look for photographs capturing their performances, album covers, and memorabilia from the time. These visuals will help viewers connect with the influential personalities and the timeless recordings that defined the swing era. As we continue our journey, we'll explore the decline of the big band era and the emergence of new styles on the jazz horizon. Stay tuned. The roots of bebop and its departure from swing. In the 1940s, a new style of jazz emerged called bebop, which represented a significant departure from the swing era. Bebop was a reaction to the constraints and commercialism of swing and aimed to bring jazz back to its roots as a music of artistic expression and improvisation. Bebop musicians sought greater harmonic complexity and faster tempos, challenging the conventions of swing music. Unlike the large ensembles of the swing era, bebop was primarily performed by small groups, typically featuring a rhythm section, a horn player, and occasionally a vocalist. This smaller ensemble allowed for more flexibility and interaction among the musicians, fostering intricate improvisations and interplay. Bebop introduced a re-evaluation of harmony, with musicians exploring advanced chord progressions and substitutions. The melodies became more fragmented and angular, sometimes characterized by rapid, virtuosic lines. These changes challenged both the musicians and the audience, demanding active listening and a deeper understanding of the music. To visually represent the roots of bebop and its departure from swing, search for images of small jazz clubs like Minton's Playhouse in New York City, where many bebop jam sessions took place. Look for photographs of bebop musicians performing intimately in small groups, playing their instruments passionately, and engaging in on-stage interactions. These visuals will help transport viewers into the intimate and innovative atmosphere of the bebop era. Next, we'll dive into the innovations of one of the most influential figures of bebop, Charlie Parker. Charlie Parker and his innovations in bebop. Charlie Parker, also known as Bird, was one of the most influential and innovative figures in the development of bebop. His virtuosic saxophone playing and revolutionary approach to improvisation reshaped the course of jazz and left a lasting impact on generations of musicians. Parker's innovations in bebop extended beyond his remarkable technical abilities. He introduced new harmonic concepts, exploring unconventional chord progressions and substitutions. His intricate melodic lines, characterized by rapid and fluid runs, showcased his unparalleled virtuosity and creativity. Parker's approach to improvisation was marked by his mastery of complex harmonies and his ability to play outside the chord changes, introducing new and unpredictable melodic paths. This concept of playing outside the established harmonic structure became a hallmark of bebop and a revolutionary departure from the more predictable improvisations of the swing era. Beyond his technical prowess, Parker's rhythmic phrasing and sense of time were groundbreaking. His precise and intricate rhythmic patterns, syncopations, and use of accents added a heightened level of complexity to bebop compositions and performances. To visually represent Charlie Parker and his innovations in bebop, search for images of Parker playing his saxophone with passion and intensity. Look for vintage photographs capturing his performances at clubs like Birdland in New York City or other bebop hotspots. Additionally, search for album covers featuring Charlie Parker and images of his famous collaborators, like Dizzy Gillespie and Miles Davis. These visuals will help viewers connect with the brilliance and transformative impact of Charlie Parker's contributions to bebop music. Dizzy Gillespie and his contributions to bebop. Dizzy Gillespie, a virtuoso trumpet player, composer, and bandleader, was another pivotal figure in the development and popularization of bebop. Gillespie's innovative approach to music, his charismatic stage presence, and his technical prowess established him as a prominent innovator in jazz. One of Gillespie's notable contributions to bebop was his mastery of complex harmonies and his exploration of Latin rhythms. He incorporated Afro-Cuban and Caribbean influences into his music, fusing them with the harmonic complexities of bebop. This fusion not only expanded the sonic palette of jazz but also contributed to the birth of a new subgenre called Afro-Cuban jazz. Gillespie's virtuosic trumpet playing featured soaring high notes, rapid runs, and innovative use of extended techniques like bent notes and rhythmic accents. His distinct style, characterized by his puffy cheeks while playing, became an iconic trademark and influenced generations of trumpet players. Beyond his instrumental and compositional talents, Gillespie was a renowned showman and ambassador of jazz. He brought bebop and its innovations to audiences around the world through extensive touring and collaborations with international musicians. Gillespie's influence extended beyond his own performances, as he mentored and inspired numerous younger musicians who would go on to shape the future of jazz. To visually represent Dizzy Gillespie and his contributions to bebop, search for images of Gillespie performing on stage with his trumpet, showcasing his unique playing style and energetic stage presence. Look for photographs capturing his collaborations with other jazz legends like Charlie Parker, as well as album covers featuring Gillespie's iconic recordings. These visuals will help viewers connect with the influential figure and the vibrant world of bebop. As we conclude our journey through the history of jazz, we reflect on the lasting impact of these groundbreaking musicians and the enduring legacy of their innovations. And that concludes our journey through the rich and vibrant history of jazz. We've explored how this genre of music originated in African American communities in the late 19th century and how it evolved and spread across the nation. From the early influences of ragtime and blues, to the birth of jazz in New Orleans and its subsequent expansion into other cities, we've witnessed the fusion of diverse musical traditions and cultural experiences that shaped its unique sound. We've celebrated the swing era and the rise of big band music, where jazz became a symbol of joy and a soundtrack for the lively dance halls of the time. We've also marveled at the groundbreaking innovations of musicians like Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie, who ushered in the era of bebop and forever transformed the world of jazz. But jazz didn't stop there. It continued to evolve and adapt, blending with other genres and embracing new influences along the way. From cool jazz to modal jazz, fusion to Latin jazz, the legacy of this incredible art form lives on. As we conclude, let's remember that jazz is more than just a style of music. It's a reflection of the human spirit, a celebration of freedom, creativity, and collaboration. It continues to inspire and resonate with audiences of all generations. So, next time you listen to a jazz tune, take a moment to appreciate the rich history behind the notes and rhythms that make this genre so special. Thank you for joining us on this captivating journey. We hope you've gained a deeper appreciation for the history of jazz. Keep exploring, keep listening, and keep expanding your musical horizons. Until next time.